Hi, so in this lesson, we'll be looking at how to actually create calculations in Tableau by using the calculated fields. All right, so we're going to consider a use case whereby in this data, in our superstore sample data, we have the sales information, we have the profit information as well. But what we are looking to see is the profit ratio, all right? And as we can see, we don't have the profit ratio in our data pane. But what we can do to get that is to actually write a calculation so that we can have our profit ratio. So we are going to take advantage of our existing fields in our data to write a new calculation. All right. So in order to do that, to create a calculated field in Tableau, you can either go to the very top where it says analysis, click on that, then downward here, you will see where it says create calculated field, or you can click on this drop down and click on create a calculated field. Then you're still going to have this dialog box. So over here, I'll just do a rename and call this profit ratio. All right. So in this box, I can write formulas. I can bring in some fields, operators, parameters, depending on my use case. But for this case, we are just trying to calculate our profit ratio. All right. So simply put, I'm just going to write profit divided by sales. Profit ratio divided by sales. You can see downward here is saying that our calculation is valid. I'm going to click on OK. So now we have a new feed created from our existing feeds from sales and profit. All right, so let's say we want to look at that by our categories. So if I drag category to the rows, let me just space it a little bit. I'm going to drag this down. So if I take profit ratio to the text, you can now see that profit ratio is telling us for our technology, we have a profit ratio of 219% profit ratio. For office is 859 percentage, which is pretty high. So I wonder what is going on with that. So, but if you have a look at the calculation that we have written, so what I did to just get this was to go back to my profit ratio, right click on that and click on edit. All right. So if you have a look at this, if I zoom in a little bit, what we have here for profit and sales is that we have only written a row level calculation right here. So which means for every transaction, this is being calculated for every transaction. And at the end, it's being added up. And that is why we are having a very high profit ratio for each of these categories. All right. So the correct way to actually have this would be to aggregate it by using a function. So if we say sum of our profits divided by the sum of our sales. Now, what this is going to do, as opposed to what we had before, is that this is going to first add all the profits across all the transactions and add all the sales across all the transactions, and is going to divide them. All right. So now if we click OK, you can see now we have a red, something is broken. And that is to tell us that the initial calculation we were using before was not aggregated. The new one, we have introduced a sum. So when you create a calculation initially without an aggregation, right, and you change that later to an aggregation, you often see that in red as it's broken here. If I hover on it, it's saying error can't be applied to a user-defined aggregation. So all you need to do, since the field itself is valid, as we can see right here. You can see calculation is valid. We can simply replace what we have here. So you can either remove this and then take this inside there again. You can see now we have the correct profit ratio. All right. So this is 0.71745. That's 17.45 percentage. So if you wanted to like have that in a real percentage, we can right click on this and click on format, click on this number, go to percentage, and let's just have it at 1 decimals. So now we have technology at 17.4, 17.2, 2.6. All right. So as you can see, the power and the what a calculated feed has now allowed us to do in Tableau, you can begin to think of other use cases where this can be helpful in your analysis. Right. So in the next video, in the next lesson, we'll be going in depth and see other ways where calculated feed can be of help and of value in our analysis.